Well, good evening everyone, and welcome back to more What If fictional modelling madness. And here we have what I think would have been the hottest aircraft of the 1960s, the Hustler Ceptor, the FB-58A. Now this is done in a what if scheme for the what if Malagasy oil-rich, mineral-rich republic, which achieved liberation from the French in World War II, and in the 1950s and 60s was a strong American ally, part of SEATO with the Australians and the New Zealands, and it had a dual threat to face of France and the Soviets, and they needed a long-range interceptor. Now the Interceptor Command, which was set up in 1960, began with the F-86DM, which is this little airfix model I converted here. And I added some cannon ports there for two 20mm cannons, and it's got AIM-9Bs. And that was the first interceptor that they had, which was a day, night, all-weather interceptor. But as the threats got better, they wanted something with even longer range, better performance, so they settled on the Hustler. Now, in America in the late 1950s, you had lots of projects to develop long-range interceptors. The XF-108 Rapier, you had the F-107, what people call the Ultra Sabre project. That was never formally known as that. And of course, you had the F-106 following on from the flawed F-102, which was a good aircraft. However, the Malagasys wanted something with greater range, something which could protect Madagascar from the Soviets and from the French, and that was really brought to the fore after 1968 when they defeated a French carrier group in the Kerguelen Island campaign. And from 1965 they began to receive the Hustler Ceptor, which was the FB-58. Now, unlike those American long-range interceptors, which started as fighters and pretty much ended up as bombers like the FB-111, the Malagasys went to the Mach 2 capable Hustler and had that converted to a twin-seat interceptor aircraft. And this is, of course, the Italeri kit, which has its own flaws, but it remains the only decent kit on the market. Long-range radar, but most importantly, it was effectively a flying Tartar air defence platform. So here we have underneath 4 RIM 66 missiles. These are the Hasegawa ones. An SU-20 gun pod, a 20mm gun pod. The 4 J79 engines gave it superb performance, and the large drop tank there for fuel. That was just full of fuel on this model. Twin seat as well. The third seat position was replaced by avionics, which gave it the space it needed for all the radar gubbins. And then as it got later on in service, over-ring missile rails there for the AIM-9E model on this variant. Still retained the rear gun, and it has a camera underneath, which I've added for looking behind in addition to the radar. So a lot of improvements on this aircraft. It's got the infrared search and track system, and I do need to do a tiny bit of touch up of the paint, but other than that it's all done. It's been quite hard to build this, really. I had a few disasters with the Vallejo paint and my airbrush. I did airbrush this all over with a primer, light ghost grey primer, and then finished it off with the 7121 light gull grey, which is giving me kind of an ADC grey vibe to it. I do need to build the F-107A. The Malagasys used their Lightnings with Fighter Command, and they used the Hustlers and the F-107As as their interceptor. In 1969, they picked up the rest of the US bomber fleet there, which became the Hustler strategic nuclear bomber there with Big Pete missile underneath. And they have now converted these, which were retired in 1995, into the Hypa Hustler. And I'll share a link to that video. That's my stealthy Hustler with twin tails. Overall, though, I'm quite pleased with it. I just need to tidy up some of the lines. Very nice kind of concept. I think this concept would have worked really well for the Americans, much better than what they were trying to do. Not a dogfighter, max 5G airframe, Good instantaneous roll, but it's not a dogfighter. What it's designed to do is get out there at 1,000 miles, fire these RIM 66 missiles. It's got the speed out and altitude performance to outpace anything that tries to stick with it. The only aircraft that could have stuck with it for a tiny bit would have been the MiG-25. It was primarily rollers to shoot down Soviet long-range bombers, and or to shoot down French Mirage 4s that would have been attacking and causing the Malagasy some issues. So this is the Hustler Ceptor. It was flown by the best pilots in the Malagasy Air Force, and interceptor command ran from 1960 to 1995, when the dual threats of the Soviet and the French had dissipated. I hope you like the build. It is a what if. I've just added the infrared search and track here. It would have had an air-to-air radar. Now, that's not too far off because the Hustlers were used in the trials for the AIM-47 missile, which became the AIM-54 Phoenix. It's a good, capable air for a Mach 2 high performance, good at high, good at low altitude, long range, good payload for what you need. To me, a logical high performance interceptor. Take care. Goodbye.